It seems like it's been 40 weeks since you got 40 winks. Your back pain? Unbearable. Tossing, turning, trying to find that pain-free position. And that's the moment you realize you can't spend another waking moment putting off treatment.
The Joint and Spine Center is Cincinnati's leading destination for spine care, with a ton of surgical and non-surgical treatments for back pain. So when a moment has the power to change the rest of your life, go to the one place with the power to change it for the better, the Christ Hospital Health Network. This changes everything.
The Pound This Podcast is brought to you by the Christ Hospital Health Network. This is the Pound This Podcast, episode 681, Why Diets Don't Work.
I want to lose weight, but I don't know how to get started.
What should I meal prep every week?
How do I get those sweet booty gains?
Inspiration for your healthy lifestyle. The Pound This Podcast with Amanda Valentine.
Hey friends, welcome to the Pound This Podcast. I am your host, Amanda Valentine, and I have been obese for most of my life. I'm going to say about 6 years old or so, spent well over a decade yo-yo dieting. And then about 10 years ago, I made a New Year's resolution to stop dieting and start making the best decision possible in every moment. And from then, my entire life has changed. I've lost over 100 pounds. I started this podcast at the beginning of 2018 to help other people on their weight loss journeys or their journeys to become healthier people. And I have quit my full-time 9-to-5 job, become a certified personal trainer, a certified nutrition coach, and I want to do everything in my power with my own personal journey to help you on yours. So if you're listening to this podcast and you find any value in any episode you listen to, please, please, please share the love, share with family, friends, anyone you think that could find some benefit from this podcast. And you can always reach out to me with any questions or comments. You can email me at amanda@amandavалентиnebites.com. It's my goal to give you the best information possible for your journey and let you know that you're not alone. I appreciate you listening so much, and I would really appreciate you also sharing the love with this small business entrepreneur as I try to make my life's mission helping other people live their best lives. So here we go. Thank you so much for listening to the Pound This Podcast. I am Amanda Valentine. Yeah, let's talk about why diets don't work. And you probably already know the answer to this question. It's not like this is a topic that hasn't been covered or that you can just Google yourself or that you haven't lived through. But I was working with a client at the gym because I'm a personal trainer now. Oh my goodness. So weird. It's just, yeah, if you know my backstory and everything, it's just kind of crazy, a job move here. But dealing with some clients at the gym, I got into this conversation, which is, for me, I've lived this and I've yo-yo dieted for a decade and I know my own story and why I think diets don't work. So I want to add my 2 cents into this conversation, and the conversation I was having with someone at the gym. And I think the number one reason why diets don't work is that's because you don't learn anything from them. And I know it's cliche at this point to be like, it's a lifestyle, but I mean, it really is. And I really think that educating yourself and knowing your own habits around food and what you like and what you don't and what works for you and what doesn't is the solution, which is, again, the hardest thing because it's for you and it's not for anyone else. You know what I mean? So there is no just simple answer. So the conversation I was having was about, making healthy food choices and kind of what to eat throughout the day and looking over, the journaling that this person had done with what they were eating. And they made the comment of like, I need to be told what to do. Like, I need you to tell me what to eat. And I'm like, that's not the solution. And I am not going to do that. Which is probably bad, I guess. Bad is like a business sense, I guess, when you think of like health and fitness, of like, that's what so many people do online, right? They sell you a diet plan, or here's your 30-day shred, and here's, and they say suggestions of what to eat, but they really are like, hey, eat this. You know what I mean? If you eat this for a month or whatever, it'll work for you. And I understand how easy that is because I have lived this and I have done this multiple times of like, yeah, I don't know what to do. I don't know. I don't want to think about it. I don't have all the right answers. You obviously do. So just tell me what to do, and I'll follow it, and then I'll get the results I want. And yeah, you will get those results in the short term. And I have too. I've lost 60 pounds in 6 months before, gained it all back, lost 40 pounds, gained it all back. You know that story probably, or some degree of it. And it's because, when somebody or some diet plan tells you what to do, that means when you're doing what you're told, it works. But it means when you're not doing what you're told, you're kind of on your own and you didn't learn anything from it other than those boundaries that were put around it. And now you don't know what to do anymore. So that's whenever you're on track, off track, on the rails, off the rails, right? It's like you're on a diet or you're not. And it's like, but that's not life. It shouldn't, you have to eat every day. You're making food decisions for your body. It shouldn't be black or white, good or bad. I'm on plan, I'm off plan. It should be like, I'm doing what's best for me and living. And it's the hardest thing. And nobody can just sell you that because everybody is their own individual and will work differently. Sure, keto works freaking great for some people. That's awesome. It doesn't work great for everybody. So if you're doing it and you're following those, you're in those boundaries of like, I know I'm not supposed to do or have this many net carbs and all that other stuff, but you still want cheesecake and pizza and you still want all of those things. It's not realistic in the long term that you're going to stay within those boundaries of that diet forever. So ultimately you're going to be either on or off, right? And so that's where it fails. And also you can get into you're being too restrictive. You're eating foods you don't like. Like the example I used with this person at the gym I'm like, yeah, I could tell you to eat egg whites and oatmeal every morning, and you would do it for a while until you're like, this is disgusting. I don't want to do this anymore. Then you're forcing yourself to eat foods you don't want because it's on the diet plan, because you are seeing the scale move. You are seeing some differences in that moment. So you keep choking it on down and to the point you can't do it anymore. And then you're just like, well, and then it goes into like, well, I'm just going to have, if I have a sausage egg McMuffin for breakfast, it's okay. And then, and I'm not saying that's not an okay choice, but you know what I mean? And then you start making more and more choices that go off of this quote unquote diet plan. And you're not learning what those foods are doing for you. For me to tell you to eat oatmeal and egg whites in the morning and, throw some like nut butter in it or whatever, that's not teaching you why you're making those choices. You're making those choices because you want to have protein, fats, and carbs. You want to have your major macronutrients in there to keep you full longer and to fuel your body. But if you're just eating that all plain, and trust me, I have choked down just plain baked chicken before, dipped in a teaspoon of ketchup before. Like that's what kind of diets I've done in the past. And yeah, you're going to lose weight on that. And then you're going to be like, yuck, if I eat this again, I'm going to barf. Which I've had that on and off again relationship with chicken because I was eating chicken in a way I didn't want it because it was a way that somebody told me I needed to eat it. You know what I mean? Instead of like, I want to eat chicken the way I want to, maybe sometimes I want some fried chicken. And how does that balance off into my lifestyle and not say never boiled chicken or baked chicken is the only way to go because that's quote unquote healthy. That's quote unquote diet food. Some other clients I've had at the gym also, we're like, oh, we don't eat healthy enough. We need to have healthier recipes. We need to do healthy things. And then asking, well, what are you guys eating? And they were eating insanely healthy foods. They were eating fish and rice and vegetables. And like, what are you talking about? Like we have this idea that healthy is like this very strict, clean looking food or what you see on Instagram or social media or TikTok or whatever. And this idea of what healthy food is. And it's like, whoa, like it's not like you're eating all that or nothing. So I feel like that's where it's good to have guidance. And I think it's good to, have some learning or have some people in your life to help you learn those things about nutrition and fueling your body and then experimenting with what you like and what you don't like and cooking things different ways. But it takes time. It takes some consistency. It actually takes a lot of consistency. And that's where it's like, you got to know your why and why you're doing this to kind of pull you through on those rough days, you know what I mean? And be like, this is why I'm doing this of like, I want to feel good about me. I want this to, I want this to work. Like, this is improving me. This is working on me in the right ways, not because I have to look a certain way or I'm going to beat myself up if I don't look this way. And, coming at it from such negative perspectives, it's like you're learning how to take the best care of you. You know what I mean? If like taking that perspective to it, of when you think about self-care, like you think about like, ooh, I like spa days. I like getting my nails done. I like getting a new outfit. Like you think of like those sorts of things as self-care. Like this is self-care of fueling your body on the right foods and exercise, which you might be like rolling your eyes at of like, okay, yeah, that sounds great. But I mean, really, if you're coming at it from that perspective, how is that not true? And it really is that you're taking care of the insides of your body. Like getting your hair done is awesome. Hell yeah, that's some good self-care. But also eating foods that fuel you is self-care. And that's where I think that we don't know enough about foods. And I'm going to do a whole nother podcast on just basically marketing of what's telling you is healthy foods, but it's basically to make money. So be aware of that also, of getting into that trap of knowing what's actually healthy for you, what's marketing, and what's actually going to work for you. And it's a hard world to navigate because you're basically being berated either by brands or companies or people that are influencers for those things, or they're very strong in their belief system telling you that that's the right thing to do. And what's the easiest thing to do? Be told what to do. And then when you're not getting results, you get frustrated and then you blame yourself. And what an awful, awful cycle that is. As a person that has lived in that cycle, it's terrible. I mean, it really is. And to break out of that terrible cycle is difficult. And it requires a level of self-awareness and really knowing yourself. And that's where I think it is great to have like a coach or have like, a Facebook group or accountability buddies or just somebody to like bounce ideas off of and try to like figure this stuff out and really try to like learn long-lasting results rather than being like, I need someone to tell me what to do. Of like, yes, let's share some healthy recipes. Like, let's share some things that work for us and what doesn't. And also take those things with a grain of salt of like knowing this isn't the end all be all answer. This person is eating these things every day. This person is drinking these things. This person's using this supplements and it works for them. It must work for me. It might, and it might not. It's just experimenting and then not giving up on it. You know what I mean? I mean, we get to live every day. We get to wake up and live this life. There's a lot of learning to do and it's going to happen. The time is going to pass anyway, which I know is also cliche at this point to say, to be like, when the time's going to pass anyway, or are you going to get it done or are you not? But I mean, really, you're going to have to eat until the point you die. So, I mean, might as well have some good information on the food you're eating and also just noticing how your body feels. That's where I think that if anybody tells you you absolutely can't eat this or you shouldn't drink this or whatever, of like, I mean, that's also, I think, a danger zone. Again, if somebody is that hardcore and telling you what to do, then I don't know, that just feels wrong to me, dude. If you want to drink diet soda, like go on ahead, know what it's doing to you or know how your body reacts or know, your relationship with it. Who am I to tell you to do it or not do it? Is it the best choice you could make? No, probably not. I mean, probably just straight up water is the best choice you can make. I mean, I don't think anybody's really going to disagree with that. But it's like, is it something that you absolutely can't have? I mean, that's up to you. Is that something you have no control over? Is that something that you have a bad relationship with? Is it something that makes you feel weird after you drink it? Is it something you find yourself an addiction to? Like, there's all of these scenarios and factors that go into that stuff. So it's like unfair for someone to tell you that's bad, don't ever do it. Or just like, you can't ever eat a funnel cake. Wow, there is no redeeming value in a funnel cake. I mean, there's really not. It's just fried dough with a ton of sugar on it. And yeah, is it really doing anything to fuel your physical body? No, but it's doing something for your mind. You know what I mean? Of like to say you're never going to have a funnel cake again because you're eating keto or whatever rules you put on yourself is like unfair. Like for me, that's why I'm like, I mean, and not that I have all the answers, but the answer just for me is to, make the best decision possible in every moment. And if I'm at a fair and I want a damn funnel cake because that's part of the experience, I'm not going to a county fair to eat a salad. Come on. That's part of the experience, right? And so it's like, yeah, I might feel like a dump truck afterwards. Like my stomach just feels like a brick is in it and it doesn't make me feel fully physically great. And that's a good reminder of like, hey, this is a once in a while thing. Although I don't really know anybody that's pounding funnel cakes on the regular. But if you are, let me know. I want to know about that lifestyle. That's interesting to me. Maybe you work for a fair. I don't know. Maybe you travel with the fair and you eat a lot of funnel cakes. I don't know. But, like I went to the Alaska State Fair, which was legit. And when I'm going there, there was no healthy choices made. I mean, I got a bucket of donuts and it was amazing. And I ate so much crap food while I was there. And I didn't really feel physically awesome afterwards. I wasn't ready to go like run a marathon, but I'm like, hell yeah, I'm at a state fair in Alaska of all places. Let's get down. So again, like if I'm living in this diet mindset of like, hey, I told you to eat egg whites, nut butter, and oatmeal for breakfast, and you wavered for that to eat a funnel cake, well, you're never going to hit your goals. That is absolutely not true. Again, moderation, balance, know what you're doing, know how your body reacts, and you don't have to be told what to do. Again, guidance, sure, yes, 100%. Support groups, conversations, but ultimately, you and your body and your needs and your likes and dislikes are your own. And, it feels like, I know a couple sets of identical twins, weirdly, and it's not like all of their likes are exactly the same. You know what I mean? So it's like no one else is going to have the exact same likes and dislikes. And that's just where, God, those like lists or even like some of the diets I've done before are like, okay, so when you go out to eat to these and like had a whole full book of like all the restaurants you could go to and the foods you should order when you were there. Of like, that is such a bummer. Like if I'm going to Applebee's, like I can't even choose my own choice of what I'm spending my money on. I have to do what this diet book told me to order at Applebee's, which wasn't super exciting. The example I have of that one specifically is when I was doing LA weight loss and I was living in New York. And so Friendly's was everywhere. And they had like 2 choices of like whatever you could get at Friendly's or whatever. And so one of them was a salad. And then I became obsessed with that salad and went to Friendly's all the time because I liked it enough and it was on the okay list that I'm like, I guess I'm just going to keep eating this because I didn't want to think about like, what did I like about it? What was on it? Like, how was it affecting me? Could I make this at home in my own sort of way? It's like, no, I was told you can have this salad at Friendly's and end of story. Do that and you'll lose weight. And I did it. And I gained it all back afterwards because also I don't know if I ever went to a Friendly's after that. Like I went to Friendly's and never had ice cream. Like I don't think I've ever had Friendly's ice cream. And if you've ever been to a Friendly's, like that's like their thing. It's like going to Dairy Queen and never trying the ice cream. That's kind of like what it started on, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, it's stuff like that where it's like, I've lived that. And again, for me, it didn't work. Maybe that does for you. But overall, broad strokes, why I think diets fail is because you can't live your life just being told exactly like what to eat, how to behave, what you're supposed to like, what's good, what's bad, what will work and what won't. Because ultimately, it's going to change. And even, there's been examples that I've talked to also a couple people at the gym about this there's been examples of people that have made all these healthy choices and the scale didn't budge until they had some stress relief in their life, changed jobs, whatever. And then things just started clicking and they're like, I'm not doing anything different. Why is this working now? Like how big of a role stress plays. So being told exactly what to do and following those things and not getting results and then ultimately telling yourself that you're a piece of trash is not true because you're not paying attention to how are you sleeping? How are you hydrating? What are the stress levels in your life? Because guess what? For a lot of people, that makes a really big difference. Not for everybody, but I'm a person that will hold on to weight and stress will really jack my body up. And that's a whole nother podcast of things of doing weight, but also being knowledgeable enough in yourself to know when that's a real problem and that's why you're not getting the results versus also using that as an excuse. That's also a dangerous line to play too. And if you're playing that game, you're playing that game. You might be ignoring it and shoving it off of like, no, but you there's some part of you that knows when you're using an excuse versus what's real of like, I want to go to the gym today, and you find a reason to not go. You know what I mean? Like you're searching for a reason and you hum and haw over and over again. And sometimes you decide to go. And then after you go, you're like, well, I just spent an hour or 2 hours humming and hawing over. I could have just got it over by now. Or you end up not going, and then, I wasn't punished for not going, so maybe I can find a good excuse not to go next time. Or, you see that, like, I'm really making an excuse here. Let me make an excuse, like, what do I really want? And again, thinking of the gym or exercising as being an investment in you is a different mindset to have, too. Instead of punishing yourself for what you're eating, or needing to look a certain way or fit into a certain size clothes or having an aesthetic of being like, I'm investing in me. I'm investing in my health. This is not a downgrade. This is nothing but an upgrade. This is me just even mentally choosing myself, choosing this time to work on me in the best way that I can do possible right now, whatever that means. And thinking of food that same way of like, this is an investment in me. Like you're living in this body, this is your home and you want to invest in your home and, you want your things to look nice or a certain way and you have a certain way you want to live in your own home. So isn't that how you want to think about your body? And again, it's just these mindset shifts. And only you can decide those things. You can hear somebody like me on this podcast say it and maybe it rings a bell for you and it makes sense. And you're like, oh, yes. Okay. Yeah. I get that. I hear that. I want to think that. But that's again, taking advice and you're still doing that for you. That's something that struck you. That's something that you heard and you're like, oh my God. And I think that we all have those moments sometimes. And it's like I had somebody, and I just brought this up to another client at the gym. Man, I'm getting in so many conversations at the gym with, somebody was talking about stress and everything else. And I'm like, I had a guest on this podcast several years ago. And this piece of advice stuck with me where she said, write down, you can even do this like daily, weekly, whatever, write down your top 3 values in life. And then next to it, write down the top 3 ways you spend your time. And if they don't match, that might be a problem. How are you living your life? Are you living your life up to your own standards? Are you living, is this how you want to live? And if you're not, then you might have to make some hard decisions to change it. You know what I mean? Or keep up with it or whatever that is. And it's like those things of like, yes, that sticks with me. And, is that something that I'm like, I have to live by now? That is my rule to live by? Like, no, but it made sense to me. So I don't know. It's just, I think that's what so much of this whole journey is. It's just picking up information here and there, learning about yourself, learning from other people, and crafting your own life and your own system out of it, which again is a lifelong journey. And it's so much harder than just tell me what to do. Can I turn my brain off? I got bills to pay. I got work to deal with. I got kids to deal with. I have relationships to deal with. This is not another thing I need to worry about. And again, that might work for a while, but ultimately, will that work forever? Because life changes, right? That's inevitable. Things will change. 2020 taught us that. And how are you braced for that kind of change? Are you armed with the knowledge of what feels good for you or what works best for you? Or are you just following what somebody told you what to do? So that's my thought on the main reason why diets don't work. There's a whole other list of things. Again, go into restrictions and things like that, which diet is restricting and that ultimately can lead you to a binge. But I think like that kind of binge, I could be wrong here from just the knowledge that I have, is also different than a binge from binge eating disorder. And there's all sorts of, again, there's just so much to cover in all of that. And that's everybody's journey to kind of figure out. Like for me, for my binge eating disorder, it's like that was coming from a place of numbing out how I knew how to cope, how I knew how to deal with really difficult things in my life and feeling overwhelmed and out of control. And I feel like that's where that came at from a place for me, and not that I've just been eating baked chicken and I can't handle it anymore. I'm going to eat a whole bag of Cheetos. So, and I've had those moments too. I've definitely had those kind of binges too, of like being, and a good example was being on a restricted diet, again, LA weight loss, and being so restrictive. And then I got around chicken wings and then I just binged them. I ate 24 chicken wings, cried on the floor, was a huge mess, called my husband who I was dating at the time and been like, I'm going to make myself throw up. I'm so horrible. And just flipped out after I did it. So I feel like there's that kind of binging of like, I limited myself to just the teeniest amounts of food and food that I wasn't hyped about, that I flooded over into that area. And also lots of binging to just cope with life. And I recognize that myself. It took me a long time to recognize that. I probably definitely should have gotten therapy way sooner than I have. But it's like, kind of unwinding, like that's what binging meant for me. And so, okay, now I'm armed with that information of how I deal with this and what I use food for. And now how do I fix that? And finding the people in my life that can help me figure that out, you know, instead of watching a TikTok and telling me this is the reason why I do it. You know what I mean? Like it's different for everybody. Anywho, if you ever have any questions, you need somebody to listen, or you need, you know, some recommendations of other people to talk to, therapists, personal trainers, health coaches, etc. I have a lot of those people I've met along my journey and also from doing this podcast, and I'm happy to help in any way I can. You can always email me, amanda@amandavalentinebites.com. And as always, I appreciate you listening to this podcast so much. And if you find any value in this episode or any episode, please share. That would be absolutely amazing. Of course, ratings and reviews is also incredibly helpful for me growing this podcast. And yeah, that's it for now. Thanks for listening. Talk to you later. Bye.
AmandaValentineBites.com